and not knowing if I'm gonna get that money back. Once you don't get the house, that money is lost. You're not reimbursed by anyone. So, it's the responsibility of the realtor to ask you these questions if this is something that you're really interested in, if this is something you would really wanna pursue. Once you complete your inspection, now it's time for, negotiation, if necessary. You negotiate. Now, the inspection report is a negotiating tool, but it's not a tool to drop the price down $100,000 or $200,000. If it warrants it, yes, maybe, but if it doesn't warrant it, sometimes people use that as a real tool to try to bring the property price down. Now, remember, you just invested that money into that property. You're not gonna get it back if the seller says, oh, this person is just using this as a bargaining tool, and they're not really serious, and they're going to look at another person's offer. So just bear that in mind. But your realtor will guide you on that. Yeah, you have a question?
Yeah, would it be wise to mention, to the seller, what other homes in the neighborhood might be going for that you've done on your own research wise?
Absolutely, you can do that. So you have the buyer's agent, you have the seller's agent, or you have a dual agent. So it all depends on.
I'm saying.
Oh, okay. So it depends on what role this realtor is playing. So let's say, for instance, it's a listing agent who is now, you saw the property and then you call the listing agent directly. Now that's considered automatically a dual agent. The agent should inform you and disclose to you and have you fill out a document saying that I'm considered a dual agent, so I'm representing both you and the seller at that point, right? So now what happens is the dual agent, the agent already knows what the property values are in the neighborhood because they've already done their due diligence and they run comparables of the neighborhood. So they said, okay, this is ABC house. This house looks within a 1 mile radius, within the past 6 months, that realtor is going to look for properties in that vicinity, in that neighborhood. And they've already disclosed to the seller, okay, your ABC house looks just like 123 house, it looks like XYZ house, and 123 house sold for 500,000, XYZ sold for 520, so your house is listed right now at, let's say, 525 or 530. So if you see another property, because it rotates, sales are constant. It's not like it's fixated. So those numbers are gonna change. Those comps are gonna change every day. So just because that realtor met with the homeowner last week and presented those comparables to the homeowner, when you see the house a week or 2 weeks later, another house could have hit the market, and you could say, hey, but I just saw a similar house to your house that sold for $450. So yes, you can use that as leverage. However, there are other factors. That might be a short sale. It could be so we could discuss what a short sale is.
Yeah, what is a short sale?
Yeah, we could discuss that. Let me just finish.
Yeah, sure, sorry.
Yeah, sure. So that could be a short sale. It could be a bank-owned property. It could be a property that's being sold with tenants, which a lot of buyers don't want to deal with. So there could be a number of variables as to why that house is listed at $450. But then if you see a trend, if you see multiple properties now selling for $450 or less than the 5 something, there may be a reason why. Maybe the interest rates are starting to go up, so now the property values are declining. So it could be economics. So you have to know exactly what is actually going on at that time as to why. So you can disclose that to the realtor, and then the realtor will do their due diligence and see if that's accurate. If it is accurate, there could be adjustments made for that. Yes. Sure. You're welcome.
Okay, so you said the listing agent is what was the term?
No, so a listing agent can be a dual agent.
Okay.
They can be. So okay, you have a listing agent, you have a buyer's agent, and then you have a dual agent. So the listing agent is who is representing the homeowner, right?
Okay.
And now the buyer's agent is the one who will be representing you. You will call a realtor, you will reach out, you'll interview, multiple realtors, see who you want to work with. Now that realtor becomes your realtor.
Okay, I looked at Zillow, so I'm in the process of meeting with the real estate agent, but he also is the listing agent.
Okay.
This is my first time going through Zillow, so I will be meeting him. So I just need to learn these terms because he
Sure.
explains it, but I'm still lost until I meet him.
Right.
So I can understand this.
Right. Right, so, okay, when you meet a realtor, the first couple of things that has to happen is they have to disclose to you, you have to fill out forms. The forms you're filling out are the agency disclosure form, and the lead-based paint form. Almost every home in New York, especially in New York, was built before 1978. These are legal forms that are governed, the real Department of State governs our licenses, so they say that we have to disclose these forms to all of our clients, buyer, seller. These forms have to be presented to you, so you know who the realtor is representing, whether they're representing you or the homeowner, and then you also have to fill out this form, this pre-1978 form, which is the lead-based paint form.
Lead, L-E-A-D?
Yes, lead, right. Almost every home in New York has been built before 1978, and they have lead, their properties have lead.
Yes.
So because of unfortunately, a lot of children were being poisoned with lead,
Yes.
these forms are mandated. So these forms have to be presented to you before you even go out to look for property, right? Or if you enter into an open house,
Okay.
right? So to answer your question regarding, so you have, again, listing agent, buyer's agent, and then a dual agent. The dual agent becomes, automatically, they become a dual agent once that listing agent that you're gonna meet, you go to that agent, you're interested in that property, they become a dual agent.
So then he will be a dual agent.
Correct.
When I'm gonna be meeting with on Monday.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Now, a lot of times people, when I saw, oh, she just walked away. I saw someone here shaking her head like, in other words, she wants a buyer's agent.
Right.
A buyer's agent represents your best interest. They represent that you're gonna get the best deal, the best terms, and they walk you through the entire process.
Yeah,
Because
that's
this can be
better.
very daunting and very complicated and frustrating if you don't have the right team.
As a buyer, do I have to pay a commission to my buying agent?
Good question. Your buyer's agent is paid from the proceeds of the sale.
Right.
So when you when you purchase that property, your agent will be paid at closing from the proceeds. So the listing agent is sharing the commission with the buyer's agent. It doesn't come out of your pocket.
Okay.
Let me ask
Yes.
this. I have a friend that's a real estate
Yeah.
agent. So I didn't get a chance to tell her about this that I saw, so I just call
Okay.
Zillow and call that listing agent.
Mhm.
So it would be best for me then to go with her than this dual agent, then, because this state is like a buyer agent is better because the dual agent has both of your interests. If he's
Right.
trying to get the best deal for
Right.
himself.
Right.
Okay.
So the buyer's agent will be solely your interest.
Right.
Yeah. So especially if it's a friend, that's a good thing. She definitely is. If it's a friend.
Yeah, but that's just crazy.
Oh, okay. So I'm glad you said that. That leads me to another point. I stated this in the expo that we did last week. When you're working with when you're hiring an agent, you try, I reflect on what I said, but try to get someone who's full time.
Yeah.
And even when they're full time, still that doesn't mean that they have enough time to devote to your needs. So try to get someone and ask them the question: do you have time to find me my house? Because sometimes people take on more than they can chew.
Yes.
And especially with real estate is a very demanding, career to realtors. So they might take you on, and then they might not have the time for you. So if you feel that person is not sending you properties and reaching out to you, communicating you as you need, then it might be time to look for another realtor who will give you your respond to your needs.
But you've already signed the forms with this, so do I have to,
Yes.
what do I have to do?
Right. So once you have already signed the form, that's a good question. So the buyer's agent is usually going to have you sign a form. Some of them will, some of them won't. But if you do sign a form, it will stipulate on the agreement how many days or how many months you have an agreement with the agent for. In the event that you find another thing, let me just bring this up. In the event that you find a property and you decide, this buyer's agent, I don't want to work with them anymore, they're just not devoted to my needs, and you decide you want to move on, please bear in mind that you signed that agreement. So just because you stop working with them, like one-on-one, but that agreement is signed, if it's not expired, and say you find a property, and then you enter into contract, that agent is still liable to get that commission, even though they didn't even find the house for you. So that agent, if that agent finds out that you purchased a property behind their back with that agreement signed, after closing, I've seen this and I've heard this, after closing, during closing, they can come and say, hey, wait a minute, I have an agreement with you, I'm entitled to this commission. So they could either go after the agent or they could even go after you because they have an agreement.
So is there any way to revoke that form?
Yes,
Because I'm not happy with him, he's not
Correct.
doing my work.
You ask for withdrawal.
Will
You
they do it or will they, can
If
they deny?
if they give you a hard time, you can say I'll report you to the Department of State because I don't want this agreement anymore because you're not fulfilling your obligation. So you can report them. There are governing bodies to
And what do you say, withdrawal?
withdrawal. Yes,
Withdrawal.
withdrawal.
So, I'm actually gonna, go for my pre-approval
Yes.
with him on Monday.
Okay.
I don't think I should do
With,
it
yeah,
then.
yeah, with the realtor.
With the listing realtor,
A pre-approval for what?
they want all my information so they can run to see, for me to get pre-approval to go see the
Oh, no,
apartment that they
no,
listed.
That's not what you're gonna do. No.
Is that an investor?
Well,
Yeah,
yes,
you-
he is an investor as well, so like I said, I found a place through Zillow. So
I
I
understand.
called him, and he's a listing agent,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. he's a listing agent, and, but he also told me that he's a broker. So I've been doing some research on Remax, you in the industry, have you heard of Remax company?
Remax.
Remax,
Yes.
yeah, Remax, so
Yes.
he works for Remax, and
Okay.
I did a lot of research, whatever. But of course, this is giving me the core information that I need before I actually meet with him on Monday. Because, of course, they want to see if I'm approved for the pre-approval. So they want, all my documentations, my bank statements,
You
et
should
cetera.
have that before you go there.
That's right. Don't get a pre-approval with the broker. Yes, brokers have resources, they have people they can refer you to, but if it's better, it's better to get your pre-approval on your own through a broker, so you can go to NHS of Northern Queens, and then they have grants available too.
Okay.
You're
Yeah, I
here,
spoke about some of the grants.
okay, so, get your own pre-approval, because what happens is, once you have the realtor, now this doesn't speak for everyone.
Right, you just give me an example.
Right, but I've heard of situations, and that's why actually if it was an investor, because unfortunately you have a lot of unscrupulous, especially in particular, some investors, they have one-stop shops, they have the lawyer, they have the realtor, they have the lender, they have everyone, and you know what? They're gonna put you into a mortgage that you cannot afford, because the house is beautiful, you're gonna fall in love, and in 2 years, 3 years down the road, you're not gonna know how you got yourself in that situation. And over again, that's how the foreclosure
And
process.
they have
And
private
they all
lenders.
make
And they have private lenders, they say, don't go to the banks, come to our private lenders. I've been to some real estate workshop, they said, don't go to the banks, come to our private lenders, and exorbitant rates, which you don't realize.
Correct. And then what happens?
I think that's what you got yourself into.
What
Right.
well, he has
Way
nothing.
too late.
He has my first and last name, honey. He has nothing. This is my research right here.
Yeah, because they advertise in the paper and they have you come in with all your information.
Right.
That's when you know it's a scam. They are investors, by the way.
Yes.
They've already bought the property, now
Correct.
they're trying to sell it.
Correct, and you
To
know what
make a
that's
profit.
called? And that's called a bait and switch. And I bet you, I'm almost like certain, you've seen a house that looks beautiful, it's fully
Well, it's not
renovated.
a house, the co-op. It's a
It's a
co-op.
co-op, okay.
It's out in Mount Vernon, and of
Okay.
course, yeah, it looks beautiful, online, but I need to see it in person, and,
Okay.
I'm asking,
And
a
does
lot
the
of
price look
questions and
reasonable?
stuff.
It looks-
The price is pretty okay.
Okay,
It's not
okay.
extremely outrageous.
Okay.
It's in the borderline of, of what's going on, as far as the economics and things of that nature.
Okay.
So it's pretty okay,
Yeah.
But this is why I'm taking this course, so I can see what's going on today,
Okay.
because I'm not gonna go to him.
Okay.
He thinks I'm going to him.
Right.
But,
Yeah, unfortunately, again, a lot of them do bait and switch, so they put a beautiful home.
yeah,
It-
that's
it-
a beautiful.
right.
Yeah, the co-op, yeah, beautiful.
Right, they'll put a beautiful home, they'll put a $250,000 for this gorgeous house, and you get there, and then they do all of this, they fast talk you, and then you're doing a one-stop shop. Next thing you know, the house is $700,000.
Yeah.
It happens, so
it's a lot of
please
scams,
stay clear from that, it's very sad what
One-stop
happens.
shop.
Should
Yes.
her attorney be there with her to steer her?
They have the
No.
attorney.
When you say
They have
attorney,
their-
Like, I haven't
during,
done nothing, people.
She
Like,
hasn't even seen the property.
Yeah, I haven't
Right.
done nothing. All I did was call him, spoke to him on the phone. He wants me to come in person, and first they want me to fax. I don't fax anything. I don't do
Right.
anything
Oh,
over the
I'm
phone.
glad
I
you
don't do
said that.
anything over fax. I don't do anything through
That's
scanning.
what
I need to go into your, I need to meet you. I need to know who you are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
But I think just, yeah.
That's it.
So,
yes,
No, you're right.
So it's better go to the bank first.
yes,
Go to the bank and then ask for the real estate
the pre-approval,
pre-approval, and then go to the real estate, ask the bank if they have the place like, that we can borrow the money from the bank and then they can show us the property. Is what you mean?
Well, the bank doesn't show you property. The bank after
The
they refer
realtor.
a pre-approval, yes, they might refer you to a realtor, or you can ask your friends and family for a realtor. That's how people
find your
usually
house and find that realtor looking true.
Yes.
Truly
Because I have
Right.
a friend that she went to the real estate first, and then she got scammed because she liked the apartment, and then she bought, I think it's like 2008 I think, and then she paid for the mortgage interest is like 6%, but at that time it's only 3%.
Wow.
So this is messed up because the real estate agent refer her to the bank, and then the bank refer her to the attorney, and then all in scam.
That's a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
That's a one-stop shop.
Okay,
Now, how do you know if they have all links inside? They have links.
Okay, guys, okay, guys, let's remember something. We're not gonna brand every professional the same. Remember how I said there's good actors and bad actors in every, so there has been some bad actors and the laws have come into place where now loan officers have an MLS number. There's a way that you select a realtor, and that's why I encourage you to get folks on your own, because you wanna be sure who's red is butted on what side, right? You wanna make sure that person is protecting you. So nothing stops you from contacting that realtor, but I wouldn't go and get my financing through them.
Right.
I would choose the financial institution I wanna get my lending through, get my pre-approval, now I have 90 days to shop. I have a commitment from the bank.
Right.
Even today, if you wanted to say, well, my friend isn't available, Nadine, are you available, she can, and you disclose, I have a agent, I bet you if you say that to this agent.
No, I told him that.
I
he
have
said-
my own agent, but I let her do the speak. I'm
Right.
sorry.
No, worries.
Right.
I would let Nadine do the speak, because then they're gonna know, oh, we're not going to mess with this lady.
Right, like I told
So
my
it's all
agent.
about how you structure something, but don't let nobody sway you, because that's when folks get in trouble.
Yeah.
Because you don't, and when, Nadine talked about a dual agent, all the properties that I purchased was with a dual agent, because I saw a listing, I went into the realtor's office, they were the listing agent, or somebody in the office was the listing agent, and all I needed to understand, they didn't do bad by me.
Right, which is good,
All
that's
I
good.
needed to understand is that their fiduciary responsibility was to the seller. The seller wants 500,000, they can't whisper to me and say they'll take 400. A buyer's agent could try to get you 400, but the point of the matter is you can do the same thing, but you just need to understand, don't be telling them more than what they need to know, other than you wanna purchase the home and you gotta pre-approve. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's it. So don't get into your mind that you can't work with someone who's a dual agent.
Right.
And then
But it
I
has to
just
be-
wanna connect with my friend, and then she also got the problem when she wanna home equity line, like she wanna convert the loan 6% and then into the lowest one, go to the other bank. But the problem is the property that she purchased already has problem, the financial. Like like the
Oh, it's a co-op.
yeah, it's a
Oh,
co-op.
okay.
The financial, like they have some problem in the financial in the co-op.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
like you
that's
were
why,
saying
yeah,
earlier.
that's why how to figure out, like before we purchase the apartment,
Yes.
how to figure out the financial of the co-op is good.
You
That's
contact,
what I was
so,
speaking to.
Yeah, that's what
That's
she
what
was
you-
saying.
that's
That's what I said.
said
I
that.
said that's
Yeah,
what
you
you're
did,
saying.
because the bank needs to, I said, you can get a yes, and the financials for the building get a no.
Right.
And so they asked, it has a condo questionnaire,
Yeah.
which a lot of management companies, charge a fee to complete. But along with that questionnaire comes the financials. The bank can look at those financials and so forth and say, we will lend to it. Your real estate attorney also looks at, the offering plan, the questionnaire, the financials, to see what they want to see on behalf of you from the lens of the consumer. So when I purchased, my attorney looked at those things, And he didn't say the word purchase or not, he pointed out some things. He pointed out, I don't think this is enough reserves for a building of this size, right? But he wouldn't say to me, purchase or not, but the lender had to say they're willing to lend in that building based on what was put in there. So two different lenses, both protective, but protecting different people.
Yeah, but
So that's how you do it ahead of time. You line up your lending, your financing, and the bank will tell you whether they'll lend to that building. They will look at those financials. And I remember what I said, I don't do real estate without having a real estate attorney. I just don't do it. And they serve a purpose. Everybody has a role. And one of the benefits of working with a real estate professional, even though I let my eyes do the walking and I'll be getting information, let me tell you, the next property, when we see an eye to eye in retirement, is I'm gonna use a buyer's agent because I want the additional assistance because I'm not gonna purchase here. And I want, because they're able to see stuff and they have intelligence behind the scenes that I'm not gonna get on Zillow. I can see a sense of where prices are and how long a property has been on the market. Because a lot of stuff is dated on these real estate sites. So I may fall in love with something and by the time I go and it could be Monday and Sunday, I'm trying to get to see the property, it's gone already.
Right.
So you have to just understand all these things. And that's why Nadine is saying, you know what, the board, don't get fixated on Harlem by itself. You wanna own what other neighborhood, what do you consider, what is important to you? Remember I said your needs versus your wants? It has to do with, I have a family of 5, I'm not gonna buy a 1-bedroom co-op. You know, is transportation important to me? If I work in Connecticut, yeah, maybe a more doable commute is the Bronx, Westchester, right? So all those things play a role. Where are you in your life stage? And that's what you communicate to your realtor. What your wants, what your requirements, transportation, schools, safety of neighborhood, size of property. Your budget is gonna dictate where that is. You know, so I'm just saying, so, okay.
They used to say the ugliest house on the most beautiful street
Or neighborhood.
or neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
I have a
definitely.
quick question.
Yeah, sure.
A neighborhood will come up.
Alright.
What do you do in a situation where a listing agent is saying that they would not share with the buyer's agent?
They will not?
Yes,
They will not.
share the
That
commission.
has come up too.
So what do you do in a situation like that?
A couple of things. So the first thing is that, so have you experienced something like that where you're interested in
Yes,
the property and
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I always tell people too is try to get a realtor who's very reputable, because relationships means everything, especially in this business. A lot of times realtors, they know that they're gonna, if they don't work with each other on this deal, they know they're gonna come into contact with one another a few months or a few years down the road, especially if they know that they wanna be in the business for longevity. So a lot of times they do things on the strength of relationship, because buyers come and go, money comes and goes, but the relationships can last forever. So in this case, if you're working with a buyer's agent that listing agent doesn't know, then they don't care, they're just after the money. But then one of two things, you could either say, listen, you tell your buyer's agent to make it work, because the buyer's agent can still negotiate, because a lot of times, again, they just don't wanna split that commission. So it's either the price is gonna have to change if you really want that property and you have an agreement with that buyer's agent, the price, so if you're buying for $450, now that price might have to come up to maybe $460 if you really want the house. Or the realtor and the two agents have to negotiate. That just happened to me a few months ago. I had a client, I was selling her house. The listing agent didn't want to, they didn't have it on the main, they had it only on their website because they wanted to keep the commission in-house.
Right.
And they didn't have it on Zillow. My client was going to other property, I had a seminar I was doing. I didn't go out with my client, I sent her some listings, she was going to some open houses. She was driving by a property, she decided to go in, she saw it, she fell in love. I was selling her house, and I was also working with her to purchase a property. when I called the realtor and said, listen, my client's interested in putting an offer, and they said, oh yeah, she told us, but we're not co-broking. In other words, we're not gonna share our commission.
So they can really say that.
Yeah,
We're not
yeah,
co-broking.
they could say it's office exclusive.
Yeah, exclusive.
So I said, okay, well, my buyer wants to move forward, this house is what they want, how can we make this work? And I didn't know this agent, he didn't know me, I said, how can we make this work? And there was a lot of negotiating, a lot of back and forth, which my client didn't even know, I just had to continue talking to him behind the scenes. My client just closed on a house like a month ago, she got the house, and I got paid.
That same house?
That same house, yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
so you ended up.
Yeah, eventually we were going back and forth, we were talking and I sent him my information, and he did a little research on me, and then, because sometimes people think, they're like, okay, you know what?
Right.
I might have to come in contact with this person again later down the road, so I might not wanna do this. So then they decide, they either reconsider, and then the price was good too, the price is exactly what she wanted. So it's not like her price was affected because I had to get paid, but he realized that, okay, this is,
That's the way to do it.
yeah,
And
let me do it. This is
And
what's
she
gonna
was
work.
speaking their language. She knows the deal.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another reason to work
Yeah.
with a real estate professional.
Yeah.
Mortgage broker is somebody different, guys, and I'll talk about that when, I go back to credit. I'll share some more personal information.
1 second, sorry.
So, with my real estate agent, my girlfriend, she's actually gonna, I'm gonna go see a property on Tuesday.
Okay.
You know, so in Yonkers, the one with the one in Zillow that I found on my own, I haven't even had a chance to tell her because she's always busy. She does this part-time. But anyway, so, when I spoke to her, she was saying she was having a problem, you know, because that other place I saw on Zillow too, but that was the first person on Zillow, told her about she was having a problem with that listing agent to try to get the code, you know, lockbox to be able to show them. So when she told me that back and forth,
Oh my
I've been in
goodness.
this process for 2 years ago, trying to find my dream co-op, and I gave up because it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and
It's
it's,
a lot.
it's hard to trust people. I trust her, but you know, this is her part-time gig.
Yeah,
She's a financial advisor.
Yeah.
You know, that's her real gig.
Right.
And you know,
Right.
it's just it's hard. It's hard.
yeah, again, that goes based on relationships. I've had people, you know, it happens. I've had people who didn't want to work with me, and then sometimes what goes around comes around. It comes back around a few years down the road, and they're like, oh, I remember when I didn't want to work with that person, and then it comes back around again, and then they eventually start to work. So yes, unfortunately, it does happen like that. But okay, if that person, the listing broker, is a member of that MLS, all states have MLS. If they're a realtor or if they're a member of MLS,
Multiple listings.
yeah, multiple listing service,
Okay, thank you.
then they have to cooperate, especially if that listing's on the MLS.
Okay.
If they don't cooperate, now it's time to go contact, so your realtor can contact MLS and saying, this realtor is not cooperating.
Right.
So they will contact that realtor. If that doesn't work, now they can have like an arbitration where they can have a meeting.
Okay.
There are things that could be done.
Because she knows that I'm just waiting for her to call back. Cause she was like, he's supposed to call her back, but they spoke and this the headache he's giving her.
And then make sure she's a member of MLS, because
Yeah.
if he or she is a member of MLS, the listing broker, and then she's not, then
I'm
you
pretty
might
sure
not be-
she is because 2 years ago, you know, we had to wait, but then that person got back to her and I
Right.
saw the co-op apartment, but it just didn't fit all my needs. And
so
we
she
moved
did
on.
she did get the lockbox number.
Yeah, for
Okay.
like 2 years ago. I'm starting again.
Okay,
'Cause
okay.
2 years ago, I went through this whole. And
Yeah. That's why it's important to just have somebody who really has a lot of strong relationships. Yes, you have a question?
How would you find a good agent, and like what characteristics do I look for?
Right. Okay. So you wanna, case in point, you really wanna try to get someone who's full time, because time is everything when it comes to looking for a property. When you find a house when you are in the process of looking for a house that you want, remember the market changes, it fluctuates, and real estate is cyclical. It's up and down. Real estate goes up and down every 8 to 10 years. We're due for a recession, especially in real estate. Right? We're way past that. I don't know what's going on. Everyone thinks the house market is gonna go down, and we're still waiting. It should have happened already since 2016, around there. It didn't happen yet. So you wanna make sure that the realtor is well versed in economics and, you know, the real estate cycle. You also wanna make sure that the realtor, again, has the time for your needs. And then try to get a referral, as I mentioned. referrals are one of the best ways that I've seen magic happen. You know, you know that someone went through a great experience with someone, and not to say all results are not guaranteed, so it doesn't mean that you'll have a great experience as well. You know, it's all about our chemistry and everything, but chances are you will have a very good experience. And then look at the person's reviews. Zillow, as you mentioned, Zillow is big on reviews, and you check to see what experiences that realtor had with many different people, not just one particular person. Zillow and Google reviews, Yelp reviews. So those are important. You wanna see how they work. And then in the reviews, you kinda get to see what kind of characteristics that person has. Like they went above